This makes Han think about his own actions in the game and whether he unknowingly caused real people to die. As they continue their training, Han notices that Jenna is a quick learner and excels with every weapon she tries. On the other hand, Aaron struggles to keep up and lags behind. To help Aaron, Han asks the fairy to open the warehouse in their waiting room, and they gather materials for the forge. Han, being a half-master, can access various locations and facilities, which proves quite useful. After passing a challenging mini-game, Han crafts himself a shiny new longsword and creates weapons for the entire party. This makes it easier to tackle the challenges on the 4th floor, although fighting with just 3 people is still tough since their master hasn't summoned any additional heroes. Upon logging back in, Aaron tries his best but remains far behind Jenna and Han. Jenna, not one to coddle, gives him a stern wake-up call, reminding everyone that in this place every action can mean life or death. Their tough love approach pays off as Aaron levels up and earns a spot in their master's favourites category for his improved performance. Han's leadership has uplifted those around him, despite his initial reluctance to help the weaker members. Jenna playfully refers to herself and Aaron as his underlings, which brings to Han's mind the submasters from his earlier gaming days. Back then, he saw them as mere AI, but now, trapped inside this game, he starts to think of them as people capable of thoughts and feelings. In a brief scene at Nilfheim, the base of the underlings, it becomes clear that they are worried about their master's absence, leaving your net in charge. Cyrus, one of the right-hand men, embarks on an investigation to find out where their master has gone. It's all very mysterious, but it kinda seems like these 2 underlings might have guessed what's happened to their master Loki. Back in Han's current waiting room, all the facilities are being leveled up, which means the capacity for heroes to grow has increased as well. It seems like the master splurged a bit and rewarded them for their dedication to training and skill on the battlefield. Han registers the master's locked hours and his occasional spending on extras like gems, and determines there's a good chance the real player is an office worker who is at least somewhat empathetic to his heroes. That's all good news for the party, since a pay-to-win player will provide them more support than a student or a teenager. But while the heroes are basking in their new and improved waiting room, the master is getting ready to summon 10 whole new heroes. Luckily, none of them appear to be premium multi-star heroes, which would threaten the existing party's chances for survival. But it's not all good news, since now they have 10 brand new and deeply confused randomers to bring up from the bottom. At least they might have done it if Han hadn't shoved a sword in one guy's face and told them all he's not helping anyone who can't prove themselves. Luckily, they don't all have to be combatants. Their useful divvies the newbies up according to their jobs to get them working at the facilities right away. I guess this ferry is good for something after all. Those without specialties are forced to push their bodies to prove their worth. As their master gets a hang of the game, he starts getting better at weeding out the weak heroes by sending them into the dungeons for testing. Those who don't adapt are as good as dead. And when the first party is nearly all wiped out, Aaron decides to join the next group to give them a better chance of survival. At least one of these heroes has a hard meanwhile. Han and Jenna hang back, seemingly unbothered about the new people being sent to slaughter. They start complaining about the food. Since the master is logged on, he gets a little notification about their discontentment, so maybe their grumbling will get some results. When Aaron returns, he is bloody and tired, but he's kept his whole team safe. Unfortunately, it's potatoes again for dinner. Some of the newbies pretended to be better than they are to earn a spot. When Han finds out the cook lied about his skills, he demotes him right there in front of everyone. He picks a different girl to do the cooking. Sometimes it feels like Han's the real leader, not just a player. He shows he's in charge by explaining to the newbies that they'll have to teach the next group. While he hasn't given much help before, at least now the new members have a chance to prove themselves. Even if you're not a fighter, you need to work hard because if someone better comes along, they'll take your spot. There's no rest in pick-me-up, not even for the chefs. The next day, they only have 3 new kids for training. The rest might still be trying to find a way out or hiding. The 3 kids try their best, but they don't improve very fast. Aaron works the hardest and trains the longest, but he doesn't seem to be as good in the ring. He does help by introducing the new members who arrive in the next few days. Only one person died during the weeding. As more people join, Han starts worrying about who will lead the first party for the 5th floor. Every 5th floor is like a boss level, and it's so intense that even Han is scared he might not make it. And that's just the 5th floor. The danger will only get worse as they climb higher. Things are just beginning for Han and the heroes of Pick-Me-Up. On the 4th floor they use their new skills and strategies. Han steps back to let the newbies fight together in formation. Although they're young and inexperienced, They find strength in numbers, and they perform well in the field, especially under Aaron's leadership. Even though Aaron isn't an especially promising warrior himself, the new heroes look up to him. Their shield and spear combos make them useful in battle. Han is right to keep his distance as the newbies clear the floor mostly by themselves. Two of them even level up when they return to the lobby. The kids are embraced by their friend Daika, the third member of their trio. Everyone seems excited about their progress, but only Han knows what danger they are in now that floor 5 is looming. He's pretty sure even he might struggle to survive, so who knows what chance the others stand. Their master has been logging in more and more often, which has brought some important upgrades to the lobby, namely a blacksmith, a tanner, and an equipment workshop. Having carpenters and blacksmiths turns out to be extremely useful, as they manage to distribute weapons across all the newly summoned heroes, giving them a far higher chance of surviving the training period. Any higher rank equipment they manage to produce is given to the main party, which is currently Han, Jenna, Aaron, and a rotating set of the young guys who look up to him. After a few days of practicing, the long-awaited 5th floor arrives. Han warns his allies in the main party to expect this to be tougher than the levels they've conquered thus far, though he doesn't admit just how bad it's going to be. When they pass through the time rift, they arrive in the ruins of an abandoned town, a big change from the open fields they've been fighting on before. Now the other big change is that they can't see any monsters, which throws off the newbies immediately. Trying to keep everyone calm and collected, Han orders the party to make their way to the city centre and scout out the situation. As they pass empty streets, Han begins to worry that this floor will have a different objective. Up until now, they've always been tasked with subjugation, a simple battle to the death with a small but manageable group of enemies. But since there are neither monsters nor civilians in these deserted streets, it seems this quest will be different. Jenna gets a better look from up high, where she discovers not hundreds but thousands of goblins gathering outside the city walls, 1846 to be exact, and they're headed straight for the party. Aaron and his boys start to panic, but Han reassures them that they don't have to kill every single one. Their objective is only to survive, so they just have to endure the goblins for half an hour from the point of first contact. Of course, it's much easier for terrified warriors to face 10 minutes than 30, so Han lies to his team and tells them they only have to hold out for 10 minutes to keep them from panicking. The buildings are blocked off, so they can't sit and hide. Han rallies the team and keeps them moving, trying to get them into a defendable position in an alleyway. Han knows that this kind of quest is almost impossible for a young hero team. When a survival mission appears on the lower floors, it is known as a hero grinder, with only a 9% chance of survival, but he has to ignore his own doubts if they want to survive. Han orders the party into an alley narrow enough to force the goblins to approach them one by one. It doesn't take long before one wandering goblin spots Han, and their timer begins as the monsters start flooding in. Han orders the team to make a wall with their corpses. It seems like a good tactic if only they can stay alive long enough to manage it. With so many thousands of goblins, who knows if they'll even make it halfway, let alone the whole half hour. Fighting off wave after wave is tiring and requires Han to carefully reorder the team whenever he sees them start to flag. He takes on the bulk of the enemies himself, trying to kill as efficiently as possible using the least stamina per hit. He orders Jenna, who is proving herself a real asset, to help the younger heroes with support from the back. They have so many enemies to face that she has no choice but to gather her arrows immediately after she shoots them. Aaron is starting to panic on his side, and is now doubting that the time limit is really 10 minutes like Han told them. It was then suddenly Zid misses a block and loses a hand. Now he's bleeding, which means his health will go down really fast. Not only is his life in danger, but having even one less hero means their chances of survival just plummeted like his health. And to make matters even worse, poor Zid is now frightened, which means all of his stats have decreased too. Things are really starting to look tight for this team now. Han starts screaming at him, reminding the young hero that he'll be healed as long as he gets back to the waiting room. He calls him a crybaby, and some other words I don't think I can repeat on this channel. I guess he's trying to inspire him. It's a pretty aggressive way of going about it because of how badly they're outnumbered. Han has no choice but to call the injured Zid back to battle, and demands that he switch with Hansen, saying that they'll all die if he doesn't get his act together. It seems harsh to put it on a teenage boy, but the situation demands that they all fight to the time limit. They can't spare even seconds for someone to rest. Jenna makes a hasty bandage to halt Zid's bleeding, so the heroic young lad gets up and takes the place of Hansen, whose sword seems to have swung its last. Han is still eliminating goblins left and right, yelling at Hansen to use his shield to fight instead. At the 3-minute mark, Han is switching his teammates around almost every 10 seconds to keep them fighting in short, sharp bursts to preserve their energy. Jenna is running out of arrows, which spells trouble for everyone. Without their artillery support, Zid misses an enemy approaching, and when he's distracted for just a moment, he earns a blade to the belly for his mistake. Jenna finishes off the goblin responsible just a moment too late, and comes forward to find their youngest member collapsed and on the brink of death. The fate of the entire party now hangs in the balance of Zid's rapidly depleting life. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.